This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans, so meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Okay, guys, welcome to Fully Managed. You know what this podcast is about. You know what we do here. We talk about marketing and we talk about business tips to assist you guys in your business journeys. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's partnership coordinator. And today we have a really very special guest, Damon Durrell from Monarch Motion. I don't know why I said mission. Hi, Damon. How are you?
Oh, how are you? And that's right, because we're always on a mission too. So, it all works.
It's a mission. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with me. I keep making, ever since I woke up this morning, I keep getting messed up with my words. So yeah, hang in there with me.
Nope.
But so much for being on the podcast today. I'm super excited to film our episode and have you. But to kind of break the ice a little bit and get the ball rolling, I have to start with a little game. It's just basically which one you prefer. So this or that. And I'm just going to ask you and you just want to tell me what you think. Okay. Okay. So first one, cinema, as in a movie or a documentary?
Ooh. Documentary.
Action movies or indie dramas?
Indie drama.
Lo-fi beats or classical soundtracks when you're working?
Lo-fi.
Golden hour or the moody blue hour?
Moody blue.
iPhone footage or old school camera recorder vibes?
Ooh, man, it depends. iPhone footage.
Voiceover or on-camera host?
On-camera host.
Of course you have to say that. I'm here. You cannot say voiceover.
Right.
Creative chaos or organized vision boards?
Both. Organized vision boards, I think.
Remakes of a classic or totally original films?
Totally original films.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all sick of the remakes. Stop it, for real, Disney. I throw a lot of shit at Disney on this podcast. I always say, stop making them remake. One day they're going to cancel me too.
No, not at all.
But thank you so much, Damon. We just got to know you a little bit. But that was it. Even though that was great, I do want you to introduce yourself and tell our audience all about you, what we got to know. We already know you prefer lo-fi beats, but tell us a little bit more.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Like I say, I always get nervous in front of the camera. I like to be behind the camera and not in front of the camera. So, I'm not the best when it comes to being on camera. But my name is Damon Durrell. I am the owner of Monarch Motion Media. We are a video production agency that specializes in helping businesses reach their goals, whether it's for marketing or whatever it may be. Our tag is camera doesn't have vision, but we do. So I'm a creative person at heart. I'm also a writer, an indie filmmaker, family man. But first and foremost, I am a man that has dedicated my life to God at this point. So that drives everything. If you know, my personal brand is Damon Durrell. It's God, family, business, in that order.
Oh, wow. That's very inspiring, I think. Damon, with you, one of the first questions that I had for you, which, when I was looking at the website and what you were doing, I was really interested in the fact that you have a background with finance, right? You have been in the finance industry. which to me is insane because we're talking like I talk to a lot of very technical agencies. I talk to a lot of people who focus on very much like, like SaaS companies and like tech and stuff like that. And it's expected for them to have that kind of background. But I wasn't expecting for like this company where you work at, like Monarch is so creative focused and it's so film focused that I was like, he has a background in finance. Like that's unbelievable. So I just kind of wanted to like ask a little bit about that because I want some context.
Yeah. That's a kind of a roller coaster ride. So is life as it is. So yeah, about a decade or so in finance and commercial banking. Originally, I actually started out pursuing a creative career. I have a degree in graphic design. I actually taught graphic design for a bit, and then as right around you graduate college, and then in between 20 and 30 somewhere, you start to realize that, all right, I got to like earn a living now. So,
I 30 every weekend. I got to lock in.
Yeah. So it's like, I had an opportunity to go into banking, which I wasn't really looking to do, but it popped up and it was good for a number of years. On the side, I always did creative stuff. I was always writing books and doing little things and still doing little graphic jobs. But it wasn't until probably about 7 or 8 years ago, my family needed me more. I moved to South Jersey area, and I'm originally from North Jersey, from Newark. My parents and family were still up there. My sister has MS, and she started to get a little bit worse. And my parents started getting older, so I moved them down here, and they needed a lot more attention. And in banking, you're either all in or you're all out. The money's absolutely great, but you're working 80 hours a week, and you're always chasing a goal. They're always on you to produce, and with that lifestyle, it just wasn't going to be conducive to what my family needed. So I started looking at an exit strategy, and through my writings and things like that, I started doing a web series. I don't even want to say it, but it was Beyond Desperation, my very first web series, probably 10 years ago, almost, maybe not that long. But somebody was supposed to shoot it for me, but it fell through. And it was that particular time where I'm just like, all right, I got all these people involved. This is my first thing. I really don't know exactly what I'm doing with this production. And when that fell through, I was on my way to work and my boss called and said, hey, did you actually check to see what your bonuses was? Now, if you work in banking, if you do well, bonuses can be tremendously giving.
Yeah.
Well, I said, no. So he told me, and pretty much it was like, I can do it. I went, I asked a buddy, I said, all right, I don't know anything about cameras. I need you to give me a crash course because I got a boatload of money right now and I got to buy a bunch of stuff. So I did that, and then I started learning and stumbling through and actually having fun and working with other people. And then I started to develop, and I actually started to fall in love with the cameras and that side of it. And it just lended to my creativity. So I'm kind of doing things simultaneously. And, I felt the bank fading away, and that was fine because, I think that chapter was closing. And, as my family needed me, I needed to be more flexible. And, I started my company and just kind of developed over the years and, met the right people, took the right chances, and here we are.
That's super inspiring because I think a lot of people nowadays are kind of stuck within this sort of corporate, trap where, you end up getting a job because you have to survive. And then it sort of just snowballs into this is what your life is. And I think seeing someone that has been able to sort of pursue something that makes them happy it's always inspiring. And I mean, when I'm checking out your website, I thought what you guys were all about is super cool. Like everything that you do. I always think that giving things a sort of cinematic take is really interesting because I think when we see, especially with marketing, with ads, there's a very specific type of aesthetic and it feels very much like marketing. I don't know if that even makes sense.
It does. I got to just jump in and say one caveat. It's say something that you're happy, but you have to have the fortitude because the bank paychecks and then having run your own business, totally two different things. So it's not glorious every day, but I just had to throw that out there.
I definitely agree. Like, I think being a business owner can probably be rewarding in some ways because it's like, yeah, you have your own business, you're your own boss, but you're also your own boss. Like, it's also like you have to walk in and you have to put a lot of work and people start depending on you, right? And I think when you're starting, probably the money's not even coming in as much. And I can imagine that, like, for you, who were coming from an industry where you were making so much money, having to get used to, I think I've always thought if you're making a lot of money, having to get used to making less is harder than getting used to like a raise.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you actually learn the value of, or you find out what you value most. And for me, it was having the freedom to be with my family and actually start enjoying life a little bit more. You know, as you know, when you go in, if you don't have a family, you're not married, you don't have children, yeah, you can be married to your work. But if you actually want a part of a family life to actually enjoy some of it, you know, and that actually made me realize like, wow, I was missing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I think like when you get lost in your work, it's really easy to sort of not even realize how much you're missing because you're so hyper focused. But I think when you're so focused in work, and can also get kind of lonely at times.
Yeah, I can say, you know what? I find it more lonely in the creative space, which I actually like. Because a lot of times, you know, when everybody's sleeping, I can be working at like 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it because nobody's watching.
So I wanted to ask you actually about the whole concept that you guys have of sort of giving a movie-esque vibe to branding. What kind of inspired you to pursue that specific idea or, you know, give this sort of spin to your company opposed to just like making traditional video ads for people?
Oh, I guess because I love movies. Maybe that's the inspiration. I love, and besides the aesthetic, I love good storytelling. I think that's the foundation of it. And when you add those cinematic elements, you can just draw people in and engage more. I think nowadays with, you know, everybody's got like an iPhone or Android and you can shoot all of this amazing stuff, but you have no story. And even the way you shoot, you know, it's the way you know, I was a fan of Hitchcock in the way he actually outlined some of his shots and framed some of his shots. So, you know, I think because now everybody has access to it, it's just more of I don't want to say a fad, but I think the creativity, maybe that's not the first thing. It's the tech thing. Like, hey, look what I can do versus the actual creative process behind something, you know? So when I'm looking at these shots and I'm just like, hey, this would be cool. I'm actually thinking about film sometimes when I'm, you know, thinking about a project for a client. And I'm just like, this actually reminds me, this actually would be cool if we could pull a shot off like they did in this film or that, you know, and, you know, that's where inspiration comes from.
Yeah, it's true. I totally think that personally, when a commercial or an ad has some depth to it, I'm a little bit more inclined to interact with it. In general, I think as a rule of thumb, as consumers, we're already turned off to an ad. Nobody wants to get sold to. Nobody wants to see ads. You're always trying to skip it. So what I think is important is making something that's going to make consumers think that it's worthwhile kind of seeing and watching the ad.
yes, a connection.
Yeah.
Connection, an emotional connection.
Yeah. What I also wanted to ask you, because I'm interested in, if I know that I saw some of your work and I know that a lot of it was, like you said, like there was a lot of storytelling, I think I noticed with what you guys did. And it's all, you know, like I see people's faces in there, you know, it's like I saw a couple of like animation ones.
Okay.
But mostly I saw like actual humans. Do you have a preference for like in-person type of things or like versus animation? Do you like, I know animation is a little bit trickier because you do need to kind of sit down and do the animation, but I'm curious like how you feel to these two realms because I feel like animation has gotten really popular in the last few years. A lot more than I mean, it's always been a thing, but I feel like nowadays I see a lot more animated content coming out.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually just working on some animation this morning. I I like both. I think they bring two different dynamics to the table. With people, I think there's an opportunity to directly connect. You know, if I'm working with a client, they're telling a story, especially if it's their brand, people need to see the face and be able to connect to that person, human to human. It's hard to do that, especially if you're trying to maybe sell a product or a service. People want to have that connection first. So I think before you get to the animations, if you want that personal connection, you have to kind of start there. And then maybe you can kind of branch away to different things in animation. But animation is great when, you know, there's no need for a direct personal connection. You know, like sometimes with, let's say for like a college or maybe an institution or maybe something that's industrial where it's more of a mascot kind of thing, where the mascot actually draws the connection in. And you don't want to get into like the insurance companies and all of those
yeah.
stuff. But, you know, I think I love working with people because I love helping to bring people out of their shell. You know, like me, I don't like to be in front of the camera. And mostly if we're not hiring talent or any seasoned actors for any commercials, these are just regular folks, you know, wanting to tell their story. And sometimes they just need a little bit of help. So that's kind of fun seeing them see themselves. And then it's like, oh, wow, I actually do look pretty good on camera. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you can do it. This is really you. And with animation too, sometimes you still get to that because there's still a story behind the animation, or at least I think there should be. And, you know, with the animation, sometimes people forget. And I don't know if we're going to get into talking about AI and everything, but they're still acting and stuff. Traditionally, they're still acting and things behind, and there's still emotion behind some of the animations. So I think there's still some room there, but you're right. I think when COVID hit, that's when we saw a transition because people couldn't really film a lot. So we started to see people lean more on the technical aspects and animation just because that was pretty much the only course that they could do.
Yeah. I think like animation also just kind of got a boom because at least for me, I think, like you said, COVID came, remote work became more popular. Yeah. And I also feel like, actually, I did want to talk about AI. So I feel like AI has sort of, I think, made it a little bit more accessible for people to animate stuff. I think, do you remember, like, I think back in like maybe the mid 2010s, early 2010s, when people were very, very active on YouTube. I remember there were a couple of animation channels and some of them would come out and talk about how expensive it was for them to be animation channels, how difficult, how time consuming it was, and how, you know, like they needed a lot of money to keep that sustainable. And I think that that's kind of what's been changing with the surge of AI and all of this to make it a little bit more accessible for people than just like these big companies that probably have that budget for stuff like this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, you know, AI technology has kind of lowered the entry point for people to play around with AI. Not to say that everything is going to be quality animation, but, you know, for fun stuff, you know, in the hands of everyday people who just want to have fun and be, you know, unique and just put something out there. Yeah, it's good. But I think even with AI technology, I think there's still some traditional practices that still needs to be involved in order for it to be on kind of a higher level, I think.
Yeah. I've actually wanted to ask you about, specifically with AI having this sort of surge that it's having right now. I've seen a lot of artists, specifically in your media, right? With design, with writing, with video. I think so many people are opposed to it because they think that it completely strips away creativity. So many people are like, I don't want to do this. Like I've seen people straight up reject anything that has been made with any kind of AI involvement. I don't know if you saw, but in the Oscars this year, one of the actors that won had his voice AI modified to fit a Russian accent for a movie. I don't remember or Polish, but he was trying to get it like he couldn't physically say or copy the accent that he was supposed to be having as an actor. So they used AI to make the accent more believable while they were editing the footage. and he got the Oscar, and a lot of people were criticizing him for that because they're like, that does not mean like he doesn't deserve an Oscar because AI did it, blah, blah. So I've seen kind of this discussion present in things like film and writing and design because people don't want to involve it. And on the other side of the coin, I have spoken to people who are all for it and who embrace the change and who are super like, yes, AI, you know, like I love it. It's implemented all over. And I kind of want to hear your stance because I think your industry specifically and what you do is very much affected by this change.
Yeah, if you didn't know, I'm AI right now. You're talking to it now. I'm just you.
Yeah. Hook me up when who's talking. They do a really good job.
Oh no! All joking aside, I'm kind of in the middle with AI, and it's interesting. My daughter's an artist, and you know I can't get her to consider AI because she's like, and she's young, you know, and she's just like, she hears the buzz, and she's like, oh, they're stealing artist work, and I don't want anything to do with it. And you know, trying to explain, you know, when we move through the ages, as we're through time, you know, the industrial age, the age of technology right now, I think they're calling this the age of efficiency. It's either you learn to adapt or you get left behind. You know, I remember, and I don't want to, you know, give my age too far, but when I was coming out of high school and into, well, probably when I was coming out of college, the internet, you know, really started to take a buzz, and there were some people saying, "Oh, websites, you're not going to go away. They're going to go away. They're not going to be important." And you know, nowadays, if you have a business and don't have a website, you don't exist. So I kind of think it's AI's here, and you have to learn to use it for what it is, and it's a tool. I know for me, I've learned to incorporate it in my workflows, and something that you know would normally take me 8 hours, you know, might take me 15 minutes. So yeah, it's an efficiency thing. And when I noticed all of the industry software, when they start to incorporate AI, I'm just like, this isn't going anywhere. It's like you're going to learn to use it as a tool, as it's intended to be, especially in what we do, you know, and not as a standalone feature. If you don't have for me, this is, you know, I believe if you don't have the traditional skill set, then you can use AI, but you won't be able to stand out still. You know, if you're a good storyteller, if you know about camera movements and stuff and lighting, and, you know, you can learn to incorporate that into the AI, because what happens is when things become mainstream and everybody has it, everybody gets lost in the noise because everybody's looking the same. Whenever I go on YouTube or on social media, I can spot AI just like that. You know, all of the voices sound the same. All of the movements sound the same. They're using all of the same avatars. So, you know, your uniqueness, if you can still maintain your uniqueness and your sense of storytelling and style, I think you can be okay. But you have to learn to adapt or you're going to get left behind. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, I don't know if I don't know. I talked to someone one time who told me that in the tech spaces where like they're developing AI, they have this thing called PDO, where they constantly discuss the probability of AI becoming so advanced that they take over the world, you know, like Terminator style. Constantly sort of like looking out for that in the development of the AI world. Because I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, no, that sounds like it's a movie, but apparently it's a thing. Like, you know, like they do concern themselves with that. I don't know if I don't know what the future of AI is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be so advanced that we're going to be living like WALL-E and all be floating in space, or if it's just going to be a tool for enhancement, because I think that right now, that's what it is, right? For like almost every creative endeavor, I think what AI is doing is just making the process a lot faster.
Yeah.
For certain things, a lot more efficient. Because I think like, I think, for example, like putting a prompt on ChatGPT and asking for it to draw something or write something, it's certainly going to be efficient and quick and helpful, but you still have to go in there as a human and rework it sometimes, especially if you have a very specific vision. It's really hard to sort of explain that to a bot and then have that transition happen. And from what I can see, most tools of AI that are being made right now are very much just for enhancement. and they're still not at a place where they can replace human and like creativity entirely. So I think like, yeah, I'm on your team of having to embrace it. With that being said, I don't know if we're going to get taken over in the future, and then we might all regret it.
Well, the scary part is, two things, and I want to circle back to about the actor with the voices, because I just want to mention something on that. But, the two things I worry about with AI, I'm worried about the people who actually develop AI, because they're the ones that's actually in control of the development. Yeah. So those are the people we really need to keep our eyes on. And two, and this is something that I'm just learning about, is you actually can teach AI to learn about you and learn your style. And that's the scary part. Yeah. When you can teach it to be you, it's just like, okay, where does the line get drawn?
Like I ask, so I put a lot of up stuff on ChatGPT for work, especially when I'm going to film podcasts. I'll usually like try to do research on my guests and stuff. And I'll put sometimes on ChatGPT, like, hey, give me some ideas to talk to a guest about this. Tell me a little bit about this website. Like, I'll just like use it to help me prepare for podcasts a lot. And the other day I put in a prompt completely unrelated to a podcast. I was just putting in something random that I wanted for my day-to-day basis. And it responded, adapting that question to like, yes, this is a great topic to talk about on the podcast. And I was like, this thing is already used to me asking so much about podcasts. It's giving me answers about podcasts. And I was like, that's creepy.
Yeah, it is. It's scary. It's scary territory. I can see where you feed and here's the other big scary part for me. Somewhere there's a big system of data that we're feeding everything about us into. And there's one big database that has this information with everybody. So it's kind of, those movies from 20 years ago where they were talking about cloning us. That's the way to do it, because we're telling them how to clone us.
I honestly think we're giving the internet some very, very scary information. Yeah. Do you know those, like, I think to me, what the weirdest thing about AI is the bots that you can like talk to, like the ones that you can have like full on conversations with, and you can tell them your deepest, darkest secrets. I'm like, where is this information going? Because they're learning stuff about me that I probably won't even tell a single soul. But I think talking to an AI gives people this sort of feeling of, this is a robot.
Yeah. So the conspiracy theory in me is, thinking whenever you confess anything to anybody, unless it's to yourself in the dark room, it's not safe. Things can be against you, I believe, because we don't know who's in turn deciphering this information on the other side. We just really don't. So that's why I would say it's always caution to just kind of be careful on what we share with AI. I just think that's the prudent thing to do.
Yeah. I do think so. I think everybody's spying on us at this point. They probably have a lot of information. We have the Chinese spy and the American spy, at least. So the conspiracy theorist in me also believes in that. I think if you really want to be off the radar, you have to kind of not be on the internet, because we're obviously getting some like information.
I'm got to be unplugged. But I'd like to take a second to jump back to the actress with the Oscar. That's the part where I feel most strongly that we have to really be careful, because that's a slippery slope. I was just talking to the team about a project where, there's an update on something and we have to go back and, the discussion was, do we, go back and get the actor, or do we use AI? Or it's just like, no, we got to actually go back to the actor. And it's like, well, what if we, do like a contract for future where we record them and, it's programmed for AI. So if we have to go back in the future, we don't have to get them. However, if we do that, we still give them a rate or something, but it saves them from having to come back. So I think there's still a lot of work to be done around that, because people's livelihood could be at stake when it comes to having to do things like that.
I think it's such a complex discussion when you think about it, because like a shoot for whatever, like whether it's like a commercial or you're shooting for a movie, that requires money. requires crew, requires time, requires a lot, right? To be able to gather a group of people to shoot a scene. And I can see where they would come from with the idea of like, this is such a minor problem. It's so much easier to just use AI instead of having to put money into having to re-record a whole scene, right? Or like re-record a whole moment.
Yeah.
Or even like, I think because humans are a lot more subject to change, right? Like, because I think it also makes sense if you recorded this in January and you're editing in like October, the situation in those months has changed. So
Right.
re-recording is also difficult because maybe your actor has grown a beard, they gained weight, they lost weight, right? Like she's pregnant, whatever, like a lot of variables like that can come in. So I can see where like the argument towards maybe just having an AI modify what's already like the footage that already exists comes. But like you said, you know, like you're also you're also thinking about like the livelihood of these people. Does this mean that you're taking away the jobs of people? Does this mean that you are basically not allowing the actor to and like the crew to sort of do their own work and prove their own worth? Or, you know, like, is AI just not good enough to be able to do this modification? I think it's such a complicated topic.
It's there. You know, I've even heard of studios now even developing sets where instead of having to fly to London or Germany or something, they just have this AI room set up and they can pull up any location that they want and not have to leave the studio. So yeah, there's a lot being affected on that end with people and in their careers where AI is going to, you know, it's kind of like automation with robots and building cars. At some point, some of that manual labor stuff is going to be replaced. Now, the goal is to be able to actually program the machines to actually hit with those be limited spaces and jobs too.
I think it's just like another industrial revolution. We're going to have to sort of adapt to a new world. Maybe this is not an industrial revolution. It's like an AI revolution. I don't know what we're going to call it in the future. But I spoke to someone who said that the jobs that are most at risk right now from AI are actually not the design and artwork. It's a lot of like truck driving work because we're increasingly coming up with these sort of like smart trucks that drive themselves. And this idea is going to be replacing a lot of that sort of group of people, and that these are the first people that are going to be replaced through AI are going to be the like these type of like more simple jobs. I wouldn't say simple because it's like they're also hard, but the jobs that are like lower on like the scale of like I guess skill set. I don't even know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean, right?
Absolutely.
And then they're going to continue to grow towards more sophisticated like stuff that requires specialization, like design and stuff.
So
I don't know.
Whenever we get stuff, and that's why I say the technology is there, it's just not to us yet. So my rule of thumb is whenever we get stuff, like the military and stuff, they've already had it for years. So they've been perfecting it, you know, just like the internet and all. They had all of that stuff before we got a hold of it on this basic level. You know, so what they're, you know, feeding us now, and then we're just like, oh, this is so amazing. You know, I'm thinking about the capabilities that they have. And, you know, 10 years from now, it's just like, all right, when we finally match up to their capabilities, you know, what are they going to have at that point? So I think it's already there. I think it's just a matter of the way they trickle it down to the regular folks.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. There's so much speculation. We're just going to have to see how things progress, I guess. But David, I think what we're right now at the podcast on, but before we finish, I do want to give you the space to tell everybody where they can find you, if they want to work with you, what we spoke about resonated with them, they want to hear or learn more from you. Floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. MonarchMotionMedia.com. We specialize in working with clients, achieve results visually. Like I said, it's not always about making a sale. Sometimes you just want to communicate things, and it's not just to the public. Sometimes it's internally, but we help before we touch a camera. We actually try to find out what your goal is. And, you know, primarily we love to work with clients who actually have a vision, because what I found was when I first started, we could make some cool stuff, and it doesn't go anywhere. And then, a month from now, it's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, we never got a chance to post it, or we don't have anybody to post it. Well, guess what? They're never going to call me back because they think it doesn't work. So ideally, we try to focus on strategy first. We work with your marketing team, or we have other marketing agencies that we work with and that we can connect you with sometimes to get a plan before we even, look at the camera. I think that's the way to go. I think storytelling is going to always be a part of it. And that's what we really specialize in, visual storytelling. And if you are looking for any commercial work or video marketing work, we are here for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be adding links to the description of the video. And I will be also telling our followers to go ahead. You guys heard it. Go and find Damon. Go work with him. Thank you so much for being here today. It was such a great episode. And guys, I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Daniela.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.